is a film about a scuba diving trip to the Poor Knights Island located off the east coast of the Northland region of the North Island of New Zealand. Diving trips to the Poor Knights Islands generally start from the marina in the small coastal town of Tutukaka. The late world-renowned oceanographer Jacques Cousteau rated the Poor Knights Island as one of the world's top 10 dive sites due to the warm, nutrient-rich currents from the Coral Sea that support the marine life in the area. After signing out any required diving equipment, we set sail for the Poor Knights Islands, which lay 2.5 hours away from Tutukaka across a rough sea. 2 large islands and many smaller islets make up the group of islands that are called the Poor Knights Islands. The name was given to them by Captain James Cook in November 1769, although the rationale is not entirely clear. Some say their outline on the horizon resembles the effigy of a knight lying down, or alternatively the outline resembles the Poor Knight's pudding, a bread-based dish popular in England at the time. The Poor Knights Islands are inside the eponymous marine reserve that has a full ban on fishing within 1 nautical mile of the islands. Once at the Poor Knights, we wasted no time entering the water for what would be our first of 7 dives over 2 days. The water temperature was about 21 degrees centigrade or 70 degrees Fahrenheit, so a 7mm or 1/4 inch wetsuit is worn by divers, whilst the dive masters wore dry suits. While the water isn't balmy compared to the Caribbean Sea, it is warmer than that off the coast of most of New Zealand due to a warm current that comes south from the Coral Sea off Australia. This warm current also brings a range of subtropical marine life not typical of cold New Zealand waters. It's always interesting to see a moray eel, as they look so ferocious given their sharp teeth, although most aren't aggressive. The spectacular fiery sea urchin was first discovered at the Poor Knights in the early 1960s. However, it's just a drab dark sea urchin without the light from an underwater flashlight. The Poor Knights host a wide variety of nudibranches, which are brightly colored sea slugs. As they aren't very big, one must carefully survey the walls with a flashlight to find them. Once back on board, we repositioned to the middle arch for our second dive. There was already another boat at the middle arch, but they were just finishing up their dive while others on the boat were kayaking. We started our dive by heading down to Bernie's Cave with its wide opening. At the mouth of Bernie's Cave is a fantastic shoal of blue mau-mau. Someone has placed a small concrete frog at the back of the cave. At the roof of the cave is an air bubble with enough space above it to take a breath and to talk. The air bubble comes not from divers' bubbles, but from tiny air bubbles produced by wave action during storms. It was great to exit Bernie's Cave through the shoal of blue mau-mau. Outside of the cave, we continued our dive along the arch wall. Fortunately, the yellow moray eel is shy despite its ferocious appearance. We came across a short-tailed stingray, which mostly is a bottom dweller that gathers in large numbers around the poor nights during the summers. The short-tailed stingray is not aggressive, but it is capable of inflicting a lethal wound with its long venomous sting. The stingray looked very majestic as it flew through the water. We passed over a top of a banded sea snake that was hiding in a crevice. Once back on board, we headed south to South Harbour, which is a sheltered area surrounded by small islands with multiple arches through them. Entering South Harbour, we sailed our boat through several of the impressive arches, including the huge Southern Arch, which is the largest arch in the Southern Hemisphere. In South Harbour, we were hailed by another dive boat that was stuck at anchor because its anchor was held fast on the bottom. We gave them a hacksaw and a bolt cutter, which allowed them to cut the anchor chain and free themselves.
See the bolt cutters, lady.
Put some money into it.
Having sailed through the arches, it was time for a third dive, during which we encountered a beautiful mosaic eel. Departing South Harbour, we headed back up north to Ricorico Sea Cave, which takes its name from the Maori word Ricorico, meaning twilight. There was a large shoal of blue maumau patrolling the sea cave's entrance, making for fascinating sights as boats entered and exited the cave. The Ricorico Sea Cave is the largest sea cave in the world by volume. It's so big that in World War II, a Japanese submarine hid inside the cave for 2 weeks whilst undergoing repairs. As well, it easily held the carcass of a dead sperm whale that was washed inside until it rotted and sank to the bottom, leaving behind its skeleton. There is plant life inside the cave, including ferns hanging from the ceiling that only receive light for photosynthesis from sunlight coming in the entrance and bouncing off the water's surface up to the roof. After our visit by boat into the Ricorico Sea Cave, it was time for our dive into the cave. In the back of the Ricorico Cave, we came across the sperm whale jawbones from the carcass of the dead sperm whale that was washed inside. Then it was time to exit the cave and return to the boat. Back on board, we had lunch and then made another dive, which ended up in a small cave. Looking south, in the distance we could see a storm coming our way. Given the island's location, it was surprising to see some tropical and subtropical fish. These anomalies are due to the fact that the Poor Knights lie in the path of the East Auckland Current, which flows offshore of the Northland coast before turning seaward just past the Poor Knights Island. This brings waters that are consistently 2 degrees centigrade warmer than that at the New Zealand mainland, and the summer seawater temperatures can exceed 25 degrees Celsius. The subtropical current provides a major source of larvae for tropical and subtropical fish and invertebrate larvae drifting from Lord Howe and Norfolk Islands. These are rarely found elsewhere in New Zealand. Sandagger's wrasses have a unique method of dealing with a shortage of males. These wrasses live in small shoals consisting of one male and several females and juveniles. In the presence of the male, all the juveniles will grow into females, but when the male dies or is removed from the shoal, the group's dominant female then undergoes physiological changes to convert herself into a male. Entering the cave served to reinforce the importance of having an underwater flashlight whilst diving at the Poor Knights, be it daytime or nighttime. The cool water and seawater that got into my face mask combined to give me a bad case of mask face. Once back on board, the storm arrived from the south and the dark skies opened up, pounding us with torrential rain. The crew debated about whether to stay overnight or to return to Tutukaka and come back in the morning. Fortunately, we stayed and were able to get our night dive in as the storm died out. After our overnight at the Poor Knights Islands, it was time for our final dive, which was along a wall that was popular with large shoals of roo mau mau and Demoiselle Fish. The dive's highlight was seeing a large shoal of Demoiselle Fish rising up from the depths underneath us and then swim along the wall with us. Schooling triple fins do not have swim bladders, so they need to swim incessantly, unlike many other fish. A diver came across a banded coral shrimp. In nature, these shrimp clean fish by removing parasites, fungi, and damaged tissue using their 3 pairs of claws. However, due to their beautiful coloration and body shape, the banded coral shrimp are also purchased by aquarium owners. With our 7th and final dive over, we departed the Poor Knights Islands for the 2.5-hour trip back to Tutucaca. Our 7 dives at the Poor Knights had shown us what can happen when a marine area is effectively preserved.
Take me somewhere nice, to some tired island in your heart called paradise.